You didn't make it to WealthCon? Well, don't worry, because we're giving you our 3 biggest takeaways right now. Stick around.
Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast, where we teach clients how to build wealth and create passive income without the risk of Wall Street.
Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our favorite co-host, Anthony Faso. Today, right, you guys did not make it to WealthCon. Don't worry, because we're going to give you our 3 biggest takeaways from last week's event. Anthony, before we get started, do you want to give our listeners an idea of what WealthCon is?
Well, what WealthCon is a quarterly conference put on by Ryan Panetta, and it focuses on real estate, entrepreneurship, and social media.
Awesome. And we're there. We're sponsors for the event. Great event overall. And they had some really good speakers. We got to meet a lot of real estate investors that were there. So a great event for us on a business level, but also we had some really good takeaways that we want to make sure that we shared with you guys. So Anthony and I created our own 3 takeaways from that event. And that's what we're going to be sharing here today. Anthony, since I'm hosting, we'll have you go first. What is your number 1 takeaway?
Well, I did not. This is in no particular order.
Okay.
But the first takeaway that I'm going to have.
I'm interested here. I'm excited to see what this is.
Okay. What is it? Everybody wants to wait until the perfect time or the right time, right? Before we have kids, we want to make sure our finances are in order, or before we start a business, we want to make sure we have some reserves and we have this business plan and all this stuff laid out. Or maybe even if you're taking a leap in your faith and you want to be baptized, you're like, well, I got to make sure I get all this other stuff done before I commit. Or maybe you're on the fence about IBC, right? Well, interesting. I want to do it, but I'm not ready. I need to learn more. Here's the thing. You're never fully going to be ready. There's always going to be more to learn and more to do. And if you wait for that perfect time, plan on waiting a very long time. And what one of the speakers, Jen Gottlieb, what Jen had talked about is start before you're ready. And she had shared a story where she had, her ultimate goal was to be one of the best speakers and to be on the main stage, to be on the big stage. And what she was advised to do is to do like a Facebook Live in the morning. And I guess this is a thing where people will talk while they're putting on their morning makeup. And so she had a good 45 minutes where she would just explain what's going on and just start talking and create some engagement with her audience. But she was very vulnerable and sharing, well, oftentimes she didn't want to do it. Like she didn't feel that she was ready. She was potentially looking for excuse to maybe start next week, or maybe I did some in a row, but I'm going to skip one because I'm not feeling well. Or we can always find some excuse. But what she did is she was determined and she stuck with it. She started before she was ready. And at the beginning, she didn't have that many followers or she didn't have that many views, but she didn't let that deter her. And she continued doing that. And really what had happened, she was getting her reps in, right? She was practicing of her speeches and her talks. She can work them out online. She also created some engagement with her audience, and also her audience saw how vulnerable she was, not only with her words, but also the most vulnerable time she's in there for everybody to see before she has any of her makeup. But she's just there being vulnerable and getting her reps in. But her getting her reps in on that small screen allowed her to be able to be on the big screen or the big stage. And Cameron, I know we've been talking about trying to put some more content out. And I thought, hey, this is a good thing that you could do, right? While you got 45 to 60 minutes getting that hair silky smooth and right. put your camera on and just start sharing, being vulnerable with the audience and getting your reps in. So the summary of this concept or this takeaway is you're never going to be ready, right? We need to do some due diligence, but we also need to take a leap of faith. So I encourage you to start before you're ready.
Nice.
Not bad first one.
Not bad. Not bad.
I would honestly, Cameron, when we do these, I kind of like coming where we each can have our own, and then the audience will kind of say how three mine were better. But this is an area that you do shine. I am looking forward to the way that you put this together. So I don't think yours will be better than mine, but I'm hopeful.
Wow, thank you for that introduction.
Right, that was a good, backhanded.
That was like,
compliment.
kind of a compliment. Then you just threw it right down.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Well, I'm going to move along. I'll move on to my first one since you didn't throw it to me.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of good speakers. The first one that I'm going to share with you guys is actually Lisa Song Sutton. If you don't know her, go look her up. I've been following her kind of on social media. She's pretty well known in Las Vegas in kind of the real estate investment community. She was Miss Nevada at one point. She was an attorney, great entrepreneur, and great real estate investor. But man, what I really appreciated was she went up there. She told not only her story, but also her parents' story of how they became financially successful, right? Wealthy over their time frame. And then she took that very same model and just applied it to herself. But what I think is worthy of sharing with you guys is that essentially it was a slow and steady model that she went after. It wasn't a lot of the, hey, go get 100 doors in a year or 2 years, right? She actually lays out kind of exactly what she did. And there was, when she got started, I think it was 2010 to 2015, where she was buying a property maybe once a year was her goal. And so she built a portfolio over a 4, 5, 6 year period. And then what she's able to do, she was able to roll that over into a bigger project, a bigger property. And so I thought that was great because, again, right, the takeaway is that I think that a lot of people, when we meet with them, are feeling like they're behind. And man, in a 5 to 10 year span, she was able to make some really big leaps financially just from a slow and steady model. And so you don't often hear that a lot of times, but she gave 2 personal examples of kind of that tried and true method that really worked. And I really appreciated that. The other thing that I was going to share is in her speech, right, is I don't want to give everything away, but she also highlighted the fact that when she was learning her business, she bought a shipping store as a franchise. She actually paid somebody $10,000 to work in their business for 2 weeks. And I thought that was a great lesson for a lot of people, is because a lot of times we don't place a lot of value on education. And so, man, here she was trying to learn a business. And so she was willing to go pay somebody how to learn that business, how to run it successfully. That's a lot of money for a short period of time. And so great lesson that she shared, and really good message. So if you guys don't follow Lisa, make sure you guys go look her up on social media and give her a follow.
Well done, Cam.
Thanks. All right, Anthony, let's hear what your second takeaway from WealthCon would be.
What it would be is, it's commonly heard that your salary is the average of the top 5 people that you hang around. And what Ed Mylett in his book had phrased it is that you cannot out earn your inner circle.
Oh, that's good.
Right. And what it is, when you're around like-minded people, you're going to be typically doing some of the same things, and even like the same, even smaller activities. Right. And you're right, to be successful, you need to make sure that those activities are going to be moving you forward. And oftentimes, if we're in the wrong group of people, they may hinder your success, right? Because maybe they don't want you to make more money or be successful. You want them to kind of, everybody is in this comfort level. But so the people that it's very important of the people you're hanging out with. So we need to be hanging out with people with similar goals, not just short term, but also long term, right? Because how many people, if you're talking with your coworkers, you're like, I'm going to buy a rental property. I'm not going to max out my 401k. I'm going to go do something different, right? And you're going to get some different looks, whether it's from your family or your friends. And it's possible that could be discouraging, when in fact, when we're trying to be successful, when we're trying to do something different, what we need is encouragement. We need to be around people with abundant mindsets, meaning that they're not going to be dissuaded by your success. In fact, that's going to be encouraged. They're going to be the one helping you, being happy with your success. So it's important to be around other people, and so the question gets to be is, how do you find those people? How do you get in, or how do you change your inner circle? Part of it will be going to events like these. Like, what was probably one of the coolest thing about this event is everybody was fairly welcoming, right? You could go, we were at the M Resort and we just went and said hi to somebody, and we just struck up like a 20-minute conversation. But that was only in the confines of WealthCon, right? If I were to go back to the M Resort, today and say something when somebody walks by, they're going to give me a dirty look, right? But you're in that right environment, right? That is what's going to help you grow. And one of the old sayings is, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, take somebody with you. So it is important of who your inner circle is, not just for the encouragement, but also sometimes you might learn some things, or maybe they can partner with you in some deals. So the important thing is we need to make sure that the people in our inner circle are supportive with us and want us to succeed.
Anthony, you go back to the M Resort and strike up a conversation, and you'll get escorted out for solicitation. Great sentiment. Faso is, I like that. Actually, mine next one is very similar, right? As far as vision and then kind of doing that. But what I would say is my second point was a takeaway that I had from Katon The Muscle. I was excited to hear this guy speak. I was beforehand, I'm like, man, I've seen this guy over social media. I have no idea what he does. I look forward to listening him present, and I listened to him present. I listened to him present, and I still have no idea what he does. Like, what? Yeah, but
I don't know. He had a good story.
Yeah, he had a great speech, and I really enjoyed it, but I don't know what he does. But if you guys are out there, listen to Katon. He had a great speech, and what he talked about was having a vision. And most importantly, the takeaway that I want to share with you guys is he had a piece that he was talking about the difference between dreaming and daydreaming. And specifically what he was talking about was kids, right? We pour into them that, hey, man, you guys can do anything that you want to as a kid. But as you get older, that dream is actually kind of extinguished. And so what he was pushing the audience to do was to continue to dream, and not only dream, but have a vision, right? And that vision was great. See where you want your life to look like in 5-10 years, whatever it's going to be. But again, the piece that I wanted to share with you guys was the execution piece. I think you hear a lot of people out there talking about having a vision. What do you want your life to look like? But what he talked about and what he emphasized was that daily execution. And so one of the things that we've done just on a business level is we implemented something very similar that helps us have a vision, a 10-year, 5-year, 1-year vision. And then we're working weekly and daily in executing that. And so I really appreciated what he was doing there on a personal level and saying, hey, listen, you can take some of these visions or ideas or dreams that you have and chase after them, but also you got to actually put a plan into action. And so great piece. Go out there, give Katon The Muscle a follow, and take action daily to go after your vision.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. Thanks, man. All right, Anthony. Third one. Better be a good one, because the first two were
Well, I guarantee I got a sneaky suspicion that at least how what this next section is going to be from the same speaker.
Maybe.
Right?
I think I outsmarted you. So
no, yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, you know, their last speaker, Ed Mylett,
so good.
Literally amazing. I tell you, I went back that night and I had told, my family of like his story and kind of tried to shrink what he had said to give the family, but I didn't do a good job. I didn't do it justice.
Typical.
He was literally amazing. And what he had talked about is that if you go far back, if you might see this wealthy family, right? Is this where you're going?
God knew you know us.
The family wasn't always wealthy. If you go back into a certain time, there was a point when the family wasn't wealthy. But what it was, there was one person that changed the dynamics of the future of that family. And what Ed was talking about, that one person could be and really should be you, right? If your family isn't where you would like them to be, we're using financially, but it doesn't need to be financial. It could be any sort of adjective or whatever thing you're trying to accomplish. If your family, or maybe you weren't raised with those traits, you know what? Then it's up to you to make sure your kids can't say the same thing. And we had this what stuck to me. We had interviewed Casanova Brooks. Well, also he's got a cool name, so it's easy to remember. But what he had talked about is he wasn't grown up with any financial common sense in his family, but he wanted to make sure that his kids would not be able to say the same thing. And what Ed had talked about is he said he really has two gifts that he's really good at, and that is reading people and communicating with them. But what interesting, he shared, man, a very heartfelt story of his childhood, and he wasn't born with those skills. He learned those skills. In fact, he was in an environment where learning those skills played a great advantage, because he grew up with his father was an alcoholic, and he would be the one that would try to interpret how his father's mood was going to be when he came home. And so he started learning how to read his father. In addition, he would learn to distract or kind of guide his father away from drinking or away from going upstairs where the mother and the rest of the family was. But he learned in fact, he was so good at this skill that he could determine how, by the sound of the key going in to unlock the door, on the status of his father. But he learned those skills at a small age, but he was able to develop them. And that's what made him successful today, is he's able to read people and be able to communicate with him. So the point he was trying to make is, oftentimes we're in a difficult situation, or we have some things that we grew up with or in this environments that are not ideal. However, that's an opportunity, because those are going to create some different skills that you can utilize to be successful in the future. And that reminded me of one of my favorite books called David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the chapters, this title is just capturing, and what it says: would you wish one of your children to be dyslexic? Which, you say that's a pretty powerful statement, right? Nobody would wish that upon a child. But what he had talked about, he had a great example of an attorney, and this attorney, it was very difficult for him to process material by reading. But what had happened, so when he was in law school, because he wasn't able to rely so much on the textbook, he had to be laser focused when he was in class. So he was paying extra attention to what the professor was saying. And he eventually learned that when the professor emphasized certain things, maybe it was more likely that that was going to be on the test. And then you extrapolate that for how he was able to perform in the courtroom. He actually did exceedingly well, because what he would focus on, again, would not be some of the notes or some of the written evidence. He would be laser focused on the testimony of the witnesses. And because he was able to do that, he was able to find flaws or any holes in their story, and then he would be able to shine a light on that. So the point is he had this disability as a child, but from him working through it and not giving up, he turned that liability as a child into an asset as an adult.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. Yeah. So well said. And man, I'm with you right there. Is Ed Mylett, knew who the guy was, but we saw him being one of the presenters for WealthCon. And I was curious as to kind of how good of a speaker he was. And when he walked out on stage, he actually shared with us in a very humbling way that he was just voted #1 speaker in the world, I think. But I was kind of sitting there like, man, is this guy, how good is this guy, right? And he talked for almost an hour and a half, and he had the whole house laughing. He had everybody crying. Just a phenomenal presentation. If you guys have an opportunity, make sure you follow him and check out some of his stuff. If you ever get an opportunity to listen to him, even better. But man, you're right. Number 3 was also Ed Mylett. There were several things that he shared. And one of those things was along with the vision, right? So I had talked about Katon, and he was talking about vision and writing it down. That was what Ed Mylett opened up with. And he said that the problem with most people's vision is a depth perception. And so when people think of a vision, is they think 5, 10, 20 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And he really emphasized, what's your vision today, right? What do you want your life to look like right now, today, and then take action to go make that happen. And so again, I think a lot of people do that. I think of a client that I met with this week that I've been working with for a while. And we had a vision of when he was going to retire, and physically he's not able to do that. And so that vision was brought to the present. All right. By no means, not by his decision, but physically he's not able to continue to work. So, right, there are some things that are going to happen in life that you can't control. And so you do need to take action today. You need to start crafting kind of what you want that life to look like here and now. And one of the best quotes that I heard all week was from Ed. And he was talking about chasing after that vision, and the vision that he has is being the best version of himself. Just on many different facets. And right, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, right? I'm a Christian, I'm a business owner. And so that rang true to me. But one of the things that he shared was this, and I hope you guys hear this, and it helps some of you. But he says, if you chase the best version of you, you'll meet him in heaven and he'll be proud of you. Quit and you'll meet him in hell and he won't even know who you are. Woo! Right? So him, the guy that you're meeting on either one of these scenarios, is actually right yourself. And so that for me, man, I heard that and I wrote it down, and it was just a powerful reminder. But also reminded me of some of the stuff that I tell my kids. And sometimes when I'm talking to my kids about making the right decisions, is I try not to tell them that they've got to make the decision, the right decision every time for the rest of our life. Is I just remind them that when you're presented with an option of one that you know is right versus one that you think is not, that you only need to make the right decision just in this one instance, right? And so that isolates everything to making a decision one time and then move on to the next one instead of trying to make the best decision every day for the rest of your life, right? That can be overwhelming. So hopefully that was of value to you guys. The other thing that I would share in parting, or the last piece that I had on Ed, was he talked about his dad, and his dad had some issues with alcoholism and addiction. And his dad became sober and actually helped a lot of people become sober afterwards. And so one of the things that he shared was that you're most qualified to help the people that you used to be. And so for me, right, sometimes in this role, I always kind of question, am I qualified, right, to be able to do this, to help people with finances? And I look back at where I was, and man, you know what? I was just a young kid that really had no idea about personal finances, and was able to find some strategies that worked, and worked really well. And so that's what we're sharing with people, is infinite banking and just the process of implementing this. So hopefully that works for you.
I've thought about that same question, Cam. Are you qualified? I think about it all the time, and the answer is definitely yes.
Thanks, man. Thanks. So Anthony, number 4, do you have a 4th takeaway?
Well, we were only going to do 3, but I know you, so I had a 4th one ready.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice. Nice. What's your takeaway?
What it would be when oftentimes I go to these conferences and I get fired up, just like this one. I mean, I'm taking the notes, you know, but then I leave and it's like, I'm leaving everything. I'm leaving the notes. I'm leaving that fire. So what I learned, and what I would recommend when you go to an event like this, schedule at least 1 hour, like that following week of time, and then take that time, go through your notes and create some action items, right? Some things that you want to accomplish to put what you learned into action. Do you have a 4th thing, Cameron?
Of course. I was trying to catch you, but well done, man. You know me too well. The 4th takeaway that I had that I wanted to share with you guys was this, is that the previous 3 that I shared with you were really from the main stage, right? And that was the message that was given to us, that was prepared. But man, like Anthony mentioned, is we had a lot of conversations with a lot of attendees, and you know, there's 1,000 to 1,200 real estate investors that were there. We talked to a bunch of them, and I would say that probably the common theme that I had was that, man, there's a lot of investors that have gone through it, meaning they've been in that space for a while. And one of the themes that came up to me was that everybody's now kind of coming into their own. They've taken some losses over the last few years, and they're all in a much better place. But the takeaway that I had is that when you're in real estate or any business whatsoever, is expect the losses. There's going to be losses along the way, but you got to try to minimize those to just make sure they're not completely devastating and keep moving forward. And that's what a lot of these investors that were there had done. And that was the takeaway that I had. I met a lot of guys that are flipping that I knew from years ago that had kind of fallen off, that were there and were doing really successful, right? They may have been doing 2, 3, 4 flips a year, and now they got through the tough times in, 2020, whatever, but now they're up there at 15 to 20 flips a year. Business is going well for them. And so everything's coming back. And so it was great to hear that message. And I just thought I'd share that with you guys. Along the way, whether it's business or real estate, there's going to be some losses. Just make sure that they're not devastating and keep moving forward. Anthony, you got a 5th one?
I do.
No, you don't. Do you?
I
was being smart, man. No, I don't have a 5th one, but let's hear yours.
What I would say is that there's these conferences they're in your city, and they're all in all these other cities. What I encourage you to do is to go, right? We need to take action. And you know what I think would be super cool is if you took your kid. Which I thought was super cool. He took his son for one of the days. And the coolest part is you can see other, people in action. I mean, he also got to see you in action as well, but he got to see these speakers, right? And it's not just the dad, feeding in or telling the kid what to do, or this moral of a story. I mean, it's these people that are up there on stage, And so I would encourage you, if there's an opportunity to go to one of these events, I would say if there's Ed Mylett, like the admission alone for the ticket was worth it solely to see him, is what I felt, because I had the honor of my son attending as well, and he helped out with the booth. But we had some great conversations afterwards of being the one. Like, he had talked about that he wanted to be the one for his family, and it kind of lit a fire into him of raising up his kids and getting connected with his faith as well. So I would encourage you, find a conference, and if it's out of town, that's even better. You can turn it into a vacation.
Yeah.
And what was your fifth thing, Cameron?
You got me. You got me, man. Yes, you got one more than I did.
One more.
Well,
that's right.
Well done.
The one.
The power of one more.
Yeah.
Well done, Anthony. I appreciate your 5 takeaways. Good job. My 4 takeaways really felt like 10 because they were so good. But hope you guys enjoyed it. And man, hope you guys can join us at the next WealthCon.
Go make it a fantastic day.
Take care.
If you like this video, I know you're like this one. And if you want to learn how investors use infinite banking to increase their returns and lower their taxes, check this out. And if you have some questions and want to see if infinite banking is for you, hop on a discovery call with us. Link for that will be in the description.